Hey Paul, welcome back to the Propagandist channel. As you can tell, it's time for another Retrospective RWBY reaction. So, last time, of course, I finally made a start on this series that I've been saying I'm going to do for quite some time. We started out, of course, with the 4 base trailers for Volume 1, and as well as that, we also had a bit of a bonus with that fan art section that was on my DVD copy. I thought that was just interesting to add on. But now, of course, we're getting into Volume 1 proper, people in the comments had actually suggested, Red Propagandist, should you not kind of maybe sort of combine certain chapters of RWBY Volume 1 together for just, fairly substantive episodes. And I understand obviously where, those comments are coming from, because obviously for those of you who don't know, and to be honest, I feel like that's probably not many of you, when RWBY Volume 1 originally came out in 2013, whenever it was, obviously it was originally a web series, so it was split into quite a few little kind of mini episodes, and some of those would only be a few minutes long. They'd be fairly short, so they were kind of designed to be sort of these kind of digestible, quick videos that you could watch in your spare time, so like during your lunch break or whatever. But my DVD copy that I actually have does things a bit differently. It actually does combine quite a few of those shorts together to basically make much longer length episodes, so it'll sort of do that by default in essence. So yeah, we're going to make a start then on Volume 1, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kind of looking forward to this, especially since I'm, actually now finding the time to sort of actually get around to these recordings. I'm hoping to, at the very least, record 1 episode of this today, maybe 2. The reason being that, basically, I may as well freaking date the video as I'm going to record this. It is the 15th of June as I'm going to record. Yes, I'm sort of recording some of these episodes, a week or 2 in advance of when they're actually going to go out on the channel. But next weekend, sort of weekend of sort of 21st, 22nd of June, I'm actually not going to be able to do any recordings, at least. Well, certainly not on the 22nd of June, because I'm actually quite busy that day. So like I say, hopefully I'm wanting to actually maybe get at least a couple of episodes recorded today, so that way I've just got a bit of content to keep the channel going in the meantime. Right, I think that's probably enough by way of a quick sort of intro to this video. I don't think we'll delay any further. Let's actually get to Volume 1. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're in my DVD copy's main menu, so we're going to watch by episode if we go here. Now I'm going to start with Chapter 1, of course, so 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, get the sound up as well, there we go.
Legends. Stories scattered through time.
Now isn't this familiar?
Mankind has grown quite fond of recounting the exploits of heroes and villains, forgetting so easily that we are remnants, byproducts of a forgotten past. Man, born from dust, was strong, wise, and resourceful. But he was born into an unforgiving world. An inevitable darkness, creatures of destruction, the creatures of Grimm, set their sights on man and all of his creations. These forces clashed, and it seemed the darkness was intent on returning man's brief existence
at this point
to the void.
Salem was here, but we didn't know who she was.
A spark of hope is enough to ignite change. And in time, man's passion, resourcefulness, and ingenuity led them to the tools that would help even the odds. This power was appropriately named Dust. Nature's wrath in hand, man lit their way through the darkness. In the shadow's absence came strength, civilization, and most importantly...
Sorry, let me just take a pause. With Dust, here's a sort of interesting question. Obviously there's kind of the basic explanation provided in RWBY for what Dust is, in terms of its kind of, a sort of energy propellant. It's a source of power and kind of like a fuel, in essence, that comes in various elemental forms. But it's always interesting, because I can never actually recall, did we ever get a deeper explanation? Because I know there's all sorts of fan theories that Dust is more than it first seems. I think like one of the big, I should also say spoiler alert here, because obviously the fact that sometimes the things I'm going to discuss in this retrospective Let's Watch might touch upon details that come up in later volumes, post Volume 4. So please just bear that in mind if you are if you are watching RWBY for the first time, in fact, if you're watching RWBY for the first time and you're doing so, watching this, why are you doing that? You should be probably actually watching the show first and then watching my Let's Watches, to put it that way. But yeah, because obviously, when you get to Volume 6 in RWBY, you have a lot of the big reveals about the backstory of Remnant, particularly in reference to Ozpin and Salem. And, we see the gods themselves, the two brothers. We see the way that humanity has its first fall, to put it like that, and then obviously eventually regrows when the brothers have gone, when they've abandoned the world. And I know there's obviously various fan theories about how dust is possibly the remnants of kind of the first iteration of humanity, but has the show ever actually verified that for a fact, that it is indeed meant to be that, or is that just kind of a fan theory and a hypothesis at this stage? Because I think there's a bit of sort of debate over it. I've seen people debating online in terms of what dust actually is and all that. There's people who sort of fall into that camp, who argue that it's actually the remnants of first iteration of humanity. But there are some people who disagree with that, who say that, well, surely in the areas where you find dust in remnants, surely you would also find archaeological remnants of the civilizations that came before and all that, and that doesn't seem to be a thing. If it is, it's not outright confirmed. There are other interesting fan theories, though, about where dust comes from and what it is. Because that's the thing, sorry, I'm taking a huge digression here, right, where, just a minute into the video and all that. But, obviously, the thing about dust is, one of the reasons why people sometimes hypothesise it's the remnants of humanity is because in the sort of, the lore of RWBY, from my own understanding, please correct me if I've got this wrong in the comments, dust did not appear on Remnant until after the gods had left, until after the fall of the first human civilizations. So that's why a lot of people hypothesise dust is the remnants of past humanity. But there are people who sort of disagree and have alternate hypotheses. Some wild and actually quite interesting hypotheses I've seen that people have offered include things like dust actually comes from the moon of Remnant after the gods blasted through it, because you actually see a scene, don't you, in Volume 6 when it's all Salem's backstory, where after the gods have left, she basically crumples to her knees and there's what's the term, meteorites, whichever one is the correct term, plummeting down to the ground after the god of darkness blasts his way upwards through the moon. So some people hypothesise it might be from there. There's also another crazy one that I saw, which is that the world of Remnant itself is some kind of, even I don't know how you describe it, it's some kind of entity, and that maybe the gods did not actually create Remnant, and that they were invaders who took it over, and that actually dust was kind of like the planet's semblance, to put it that way, but when the gods arrived they kind of suppressed it, hence why it's on, dust has only just sort of appeared after the fall of Remnant, the fall of Remnant, the fall of original humanity. There's all kinds of crazy hypotheses, but I suppose really my key question is, has RWBY ever formally confirmed what it is, or has it kind of left it as something for the fans to sort of hypothesise about? Might just be an interesting point of conversation in the comments if you want to chime in on that. Alright, resume in 3, 2, 1, go.
Life.
Come on, VLC media player, don't chug on me.
Eventually flicker and die. And when they are gone,
hey, Roman Torchwick.
darkness will return.
One of our favourite RWBY villains. Classic guy.
So
it's
you may
also
prepare your guardians.
Sorry, I'll
Build your
shut up for a moment.
memories to a so-called free world. But take heed. There will be no victory in strength.
But perhaps victory is in the simpler things that you've long forgotten. Things that require a smaller, more honest soul.
It's interesting that opening conversation there, how Ozpin seems to directly respond to Salem, as though he's in communication with her at this point. Was that ever explored?
Do you have any idea how hard it is to find a dust shop open this late?
Please, just take my lien and leave.
Shh. Calm down. We're not here for your money. Grab the dust.
Crystals.
think I can remember the first time I ever watched RWBY Volume 1. Obviously, as I've said, I think in the last episode, it wasn't when it was released. I didn't actually start watching it until
Alright, kid. Put your hands
a couple of years later, after Volume 3 had just finished.
I said hands in the air. You got a death wish or something?
I think I watched it first on Crunchyroll. I think.
Yes?
I said, put your hands in the air. Now.
Assuming I'm remembering correctly.
Robbing me?
Yes.
Oh.
Hey.
Well, there goes that guy. Here we go. You know, that shot there. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just going to pause again. Not only this shot, this is also kind of an iconic shot. I feel like you see screenshots of this scene of RWBY giving sort of the shit-eating grin towards Roman and company. You see that quite a lot. This shot here, I was going to say as well, you know, old school RWBY, particularly in Volume 1, shots like this have such a unique look to them. And that was something I was going to mention a moment ago. Obviously, Volumes 1 to 3 of RWBY were made in Poser, I think it was, the animation software, before eventually with Volume 4, they, Rooster Teeth that is, made the switch, I think it was, to Maya, which is a different one entirely, which obviously upped the visual quality, but, you know, old school RWBY definitely had a interesting look to it. A lot of people have sort of described it as being like watching cutscenes from, say, like an old PlayStation game, hence why a lot of people loved it, because it maybe sort of tied in a bit to nostalgia, stuff like that. I wouldn't really know that myself because I never had a PlayStation growing up, so can't really speak to that myself. I'm sure people in the comments probably could. But yeah, something I will say obviously about particularly RWBY's Volume 1 and 2, I do recall sometimes there are little sort of elements in these two volumes where you do see some slight, how should I say, ropiness in aspects of the visuals. I think there probably will be an example, at least one example of this in this episode, which I'll point out when it happens. But yeah, I suppose it's interesting to look back on this because this was obviously a much smaller animation team, I believe, at the time within Rooster Teeth, who were probably still very much finding their feet and learning, very much learning on the fly. So, you know, it was still a pretty good job for the time, considering that it was that small team. Alright, resume in 3, 2, 1, go. For some reason VLC Media Player always has that little stutter when I restart it.
Okay. Get her.
This is very much the episode that really grabbed my attention when I first watched RWBY. It did the job perfectly of grabbing my attention and keeping me, and I haven't looked back since.
You were very sent. Truly you were.
Well, Red, I think we can all say it's been an eventful evening. And as much as I'd love to stick around...
A little bit of animation ropiness there.
I'm afraid...
Don't know if you saw that. Okay, it looks like actually there might be 2 instances of that in this episode, because the other one that I was thinking about a moment ago when I mentioned it was actually something different. Hang on, it's when he stubs out the cigar with his gun cane. You just see it sort of clipping through a bit. I don't know if you look closely. 3, 2, 1, resume.
Eventful evening. And as
Sort of
much
there.
as I'd love to stick around...
It sort of clips through the cigar a
I'm
bit.
afraid this is where we part.
It's a tiny little detail, barely noticeable. Although I just pointed out, because why the hell not? I'm not pointing it out to, you know, disparage the work that these animators did back in the day.
Okay, if I go after him?
Because they actually did do a very good job. So I'm just fiddling with my shirt, smoothing it out, making sure the buttons are still there.
Persistent.
I might need to sew one of them a little bit, just to tighten it up.
End of the line, Red!
And here we go. Our first opening fight scene of the volume commences now. Something there where you can't actually see Roman until it gets that shot there.
Got a huntress.
Yeah, like that. Well, obviously, Roman's gone through into the copy there. Never mind. Takes Cinder a while to actually get into the cargo bay of this aircraft, doesn't it? Okay, here she is now. Well, the second instance of animation ropiness, I think, is about to happen. There. You see that? Did you see that, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry if I just pause. I'm really interrupting the flow of the combat here. That second instance of ropiness, the one that I was originally thinking about. So obviously Cinder has just fired a bolt or something down there that's caused an explosion. Glinda sort of backflips out of it to avoid the damage. But if you look up here at the aircraft, the little cargo door is closed. I'm guessing that's probably, well, if I had to guess about what happened there during the animation process, and acknowledging that I'm not an animator, I'm just a guy who, has a bit of an enthusiasm for this kind of animation and all that. But my guess would be that obviously in the shot they sort of posed the aircraft and had sort of Glinda's animation cycle for her backflip over. But maybe there's just a slight oversight in that because of the explosion effects and all the particles going on. Maybe they just thought we don't need to actually keep the aircraft cargo door open, and maybe there's just a bit of an oversight then. Or maybe they just forgot to get, I don't know what you call it, like the body group of the aircraft. Body group, that's a very freaking Gary Small term, that. But basically they maybe just forgot to make sure that the cargo bay door on the aircraft was open, because it could be that, you never know, like this particular shot maybe was sort of recorded on a different day or animated on a different day to obviously what came before, because I don't really know, like, animating a single episode of RWBY, like how long would that have taken? Because it wouldn't have been, fast or anything like that. You need to obviously like make all the character models, all like the scenery, the props that go in the scene and everything. You then need to like individually pose everything, like go through it frame by frame, obviously like, export and refine the video, etc., etc. So it would have taken a while, So you can understand probably for a a fairly newbie team that they would make probably tiny little mistakes like that. Yeah. Resume in 3, 2, 1, go. Just try not to interrupt the rest of the fight now. What's impressive though... Oh, there's another one. I just realised. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I said I wasn't going to pause, and immediately I'm pausing. This shot here, as they look upon the aircraft, just after Cinder has kind of stopped all of the ice particles. If I get to 605, yeah, it's like a shot here. I think it's like you can't really... Yeah, there's like no... Cinder's not actually in there, as you can see. I wonder if there were technical limitations maybe with the the animation software that just sort of prevented them from being able to get things exact in 100% of instances, maybe. Because I don't know, it sort of depends. Because I imagine with the amount of like particle effects that you see on screen there, that's probably very taxing even on high-end computers when you're sort of processing and exporting that as a video file. So yeah, indeed. But obviously, by the time you get to Volume 3, the animation studio, or animation team rather, has got, by that point, they've got very good. And I don't really recall Volume 3 there being any real sort of particularly visible kind of animation oopsies, to put it that way, like that. Okay, resume in 3, 2, 1, go. And off they go.
You're a huntress.
Local law enforcement are taking a while to get here.
Can I have your autograph?
All falls to one huntress.
You realize that
Your actions
And
tonight will
a
not be
15-year-old
taken
girl.
lightly. You put yourself and others in great danger.
They started it!
Ruby was 15, wasn't she? In
You'll be
Volume
sent
1.
home.
She was pretty
A
young.
pat on the back
Or meant to be.
and a slap on the wrist. But there is someone here who would like to meet you.
Ruby Rose. You have silver eyes.
It's an interesting way to
So,
start a conversation.
Where did you learn to do this?
I mean, we know why.
Signal Academy?
They taught you to use one of the most dangerous weapons ever designed?
Well, one teacher in particular.
I see. It's just that I've only seen one other scythe wielder of that skill before. A dusty old crow.
That's my uncle. Sorry. That's my Uncle Crow. He's a teacher at Signal. I was complete garbage before he took me under his wing, and now I'm all like...
So I've noticed. And what is an adorable girl such as yourself doing at a school designed to train warriors?
Well, I want to be a huntress.
You want to slay monsters?
Yeah. I only have 2 more years of training left at Signal, and then I'm going to apply to Beacon. See, my sister's starting there this year, and she's trying to become a huntress, and I'm trying to become a huntress because I want to help people. And my parents always taught us to help others, so I thought, I might as well
You know,
make a career out of it. I mean, the police are alright, but
it is
I think
interesting to
huntresses
watch
are
this
so
again.
romantic and exciting and cool.
After having just watched Chapter 1 of Dust Queen.
Do you know who I am?
Because they did
You're
get
Professor
that
Ozpin.
old school Ruby
You're the
vibe, didn't
headmaster
they,
at
in Dust
Beacon.
Queen?
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
You want to come to my school?
More than anything.
Well, okay.
Oh, I can't believe my baby sister's going to Beacon with me. This is the best day ever!
Please stop.
But I'm so proud of you!
Really, sis, it was nothing.
What do you mean? It was incredible! Everyone at Beacon is gonna think you're the bee's knees!
Oh yeah, the shadow
I don't want
people.
to be the bee's
I completely
knees.
forgot about
I don't
them.
want to be any kind of knees. I just want
This
to be
was,
a normal girl with normal knees.
Yeah, we've not got much longer in this particular chapter here, but yeah, this was back in the day when they didn't have the time or the budget, I guess, to make a unique character model for every background character. So they just did the old shadow people thing, which is one of the reasons why Volume 1 does have that very unique feel and look to it, compared to obviously everything that came after. I mean, it's kind of good that, obviously with Volume 2 onwards, they did move away from the shadow people thing. It just was a sign that, you know, they were getting a better budget, they were getting more time for production, they were able therefore to put more effort in, that kind of thing. But yeah, just a little thing to comment on. Who is WhatsApping me right now? It's my friend Phil, that's who it is. He's texting me up. We're having a recording session later for my Strategist channel, and we're going to be recording some interesting stuff. Alright, resume in 3, 2, 1, go.
What's with you? Aren't you excited?
Of course I'm excited. I got moved ahead 2 years. I don't want people to think I'm special or anything.
But you are special.
The robbery was led by nefarious criminal Roman Torchwick, who continues to evade authorities. If you have any information on his whereabouts, please contact the Vale Police Department. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Cyril. In other news, this Saturday's Fauna civil rights protest turned dark when members of the White Fang disrupted the ceremony. The once peaceful organization has now disrupted...
Hello and welcome to Beacon.
Who's that?
My name is Glinda Goodwitch.
Oh.
You are among a privileged few
Oh.
who have received the honor of being selected to attend this prestigious academy. Our world is experiencing an incredible time of peace, and as future huntsmen and huntresses, it is your duty to uphold it. You have demonstrated the courage needed for such a task.
You know,
and now it is our turn to provide you
a set of,
with the knowledge and the training to protect our world.
videos that people have asked me about, would I do retrospective Let's Watches of, are obviously the World of Remnant shorts,
Look, you can see Signal from up here.
which I've seen some of them before. I don't think I've seen all of them though. But the thing is, I assume they are
after all.
available somewhere
Beacons are
online.
on now.
I would imagine Viz Media have put them up somewhere. So,
Well, I guess the view isn't for everyone.
maybe I should watch those as well.
Lasted.
I wonder who we're gonna meet.
I just hope they're better than Vomit Boy.
Oh, dang, gross! You puke on your shoe!
Gross.
Get away from me! Get away from me! Get away from me! Get away from me!
Credits time? Yes, there we go. Yeah, I have something else I just want to say about the World of Remnant stuff in a second. Let's let the music play though for the moment. This is probably, I think, the most iconic of RWBY's themes, to put it that way, for me. This Will Be the Day, I think that's the name of it, isn't it? Yeah, I think for myself, no other opening credits theme tune in RWBY has ever matched this one. This Will Be the Day is just, you know, it's an iconic tune, to put it that way. Alright, I mean, I've been recording for quite a while there, and knowing, you know, the way in which I sort of actually, you know, paused a couple of times and was rambling for quite a while about various things. That'll probably be quite a sizable episode. That'll probably do, I think, for this episode in particular, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, we'll probably save chapter 2 for the next episode and all that. So let's take a jump cut here, and I'll just provide some thoughts in a second. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the point that I actually wanted to make about World of Remnant, since I mentioned it, and I'll say that now just before I forget. Obviously, there's quite a few World of Remnant episodes, and they obviously didn't all, well, they weren't all released at once. As from my understanding, basically the way World of Remnant worked was that with each volume, maybe there were a couple of episodes or so released alongside with key bits of information about RWBY's backstory, its lore, things like that. So if I was to do reactions to the World of Remnant stuff as well, probably I would need a little bit of assistance from you guys out there watching this. Namely, I probably would like you to tell me, should I just watch all the World of Remnant videos at once, all together, or actually does it make more sense to watch them at the same time as I'm watching certain volumes and certain episodes, to put it that way? Because obviously the thing is, you know, RWBY volumes 1 to 4 don't just reveal all elements of the lore of the World of Remnant all at once, and so as a result, you know, I think the way it worked is usually they would bring something up, whether it's, you know, about dust, the kingdoms, the maidens, the gods, etc., etc., and you know, once something had been mentioned canonically in one of the volumes, then there'd usually be a World of Remnant or something that came out to follow that up. I think that was how it worked. I mean, again, people can probably correct me in the comments if I've got that wrong. But in essence, I think what that means is that rather than watching the World of Remnant videos all together, it might be that actually it's better to watch them periodically as I go along through the actual volumes 1 to 4 themselves. So let me know in the comments, what is the sort of running order then, if that is the case? Should I watch, you know, which World of Remnant volumes at which particular times and all that? So any sort of guidance on that front, you know, would be very much appreciated. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're only going to be watching, like I say, chapter 1 in this particular video, but that's fine because, you know, that just gives us the introduction, sets out the hooks, that kind of thing, and there are obviously interesting things out of that to talk about. I mean, I kind of already waffled on about them, done them to death already during during the actual Let's Watch itself there. But, you know, I just think about how, obviously, the animation quality in Volume 1, fucking hell. God, my friend Phil is just texting up an absolute fucking storm today. I don't know what's going on. I've not had a chance to check what he's actually been saying to me. I hope he's not saying, sorry, I need to cancel the recording session or anything like that, which would suck if that's the case, but hey. No, God, that's interrupting my train of thought entirely, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I was just saying about, obviously, the animation quality. It's interesting looking at, obviously, where RWBY came from with Volume 1 and where it is now, as of, well, I say more recently. It's not really recent anymore, but as of where it is now with, obviously, like Volume 9, for instance. It's come a long way. And, yeah, so obviously, during that Let's Watch there, I pointed out little tiny instances there where the animation gets a bit ropey at times, or where there's tiny little details that, you know, were probably oversights on the part of the animation team. But like I say, they're fairly minor, and you can see that obviously a lot of soul went into this from the animation team at Rooster Teeth at the time. And, you know, I think did I mention actually in the last episode when I was watching the trailers, or was it during the Dust Queen Chapter 1 reaction? I can't remember which one it was. It was one of them. But I sometimes mention, you know, that sometimes you don't need fucking hell. What is going on on WhatsApp that is so important that people are texting up an absolute storm about it? Sorry, God, it's going to be hard for me to edit that out. I don't think I'm going to be able to edit that out because it's happening during the time I'm talking. That's annoying as hell. What was I saying? God, it keeps interrupting my train of thought entirely. No, I was saying... what was I fucking saying? What was I saying? It's completely disrupted my friggin' commentary now. I don't know what I was talking about. Maybe it'll come back to me in a second. I was saying also actually earlier on in the video about obviously, yeah, let's just go down a different line, and if it comes back to me, it comes back to me. Obviously the other thing I was talking about during that was the oh no, that's it, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, just remembered it now. No, I think I said obviously in either the previous episode or the Dust Queen Chapter 1 reaction that sometimes with me, you know, you don't need to provide something that is necessarily perfect in order to impress me or sort of captivate my attention. What I think, I mean, just from my own personal perspective, what sometimes matters more for me is that a developer or a producer really puts soul and love into what it is they're creating. And sometimes, you know, if that soul really kind of shines through in the production, even if aspects of the design sometimes come across as being a little bit ropey in places, you know, up to a point, you know, there is obviously a point where if something is incredibly ropey, then, you know, even if it's got soul put into it, that will affect the quality of it. But if it's just, you know, a few little instances of ropiness, I can sort of stomach that and I can accept it. Because at the end of the day, if you feel like this was very much a passion project for someone, then that can still sort of shine through, and as a result something can still be very engaging as a result of that. And that certainly is the case, I think, with, you know, RWBY Volume 1 and certainly Volume 2 as well. Despite sometimes there being little aspects of animation ropiness, the passion still kind of feels like it comes through. This was very much someone's, you know, project of labour of love, to put it that way. And for that reason, you still get that sense of soul that this was something someone really enjoyed producing. And so that, you know, just helps something become very interesting, even if there are, like I say, those minor instances of where you can definitely tell this was something that was maybe produced by a small team, that was still maybe fairly new to animation, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the impression I got, obviously, with Volume 1. The other big thing, of course, I talked about during that there was just that momentary digression where we were talking about dust and whether it's ever been formally confirmed in terms of what are the origins of dust, where does it actually come from, that kind of thing. But yeah, I've seen, like I say, some very interesting hypotheses, random theories from time to time in terms of what it is and where it actually comes from. Like I say, I think the prevailing theory among much of the fandom is that thing about it being the remnants of old humanity, which, like I said, I think that's the theory that most people in the fandom have settled on. Though there are other interesting ones as well, like the ones I mentioned earlier in the video. So let me know in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a particular theory about where dust comes from, what it is, where did it originate. I'm, you know, more than happy to read that. So, yeah, I mean, like I say, if anyone knows whether RWBY has ever formally confirmed whether one theory has weight to it, do let me know in the comments, because sometimes with RWBY, and this is both an observation and sometimes in certain respects a little bit of a minor criticism. There are times in RWBY's development where certain bits of key information were not necessarily told outright in the in you know, the main episodes themselves. Sometimes they were kind of, fuck me, God, what is going on? I'm gonna have to check WhatsApp after this recording session and see what's going on. Yeah, there are times where sometimes bits of key information that you would think they would reveal in the main episode sometimes aren't. They're actually revealed through supplementary material. Like the big example of that, I think, was actually the semblance of General Ironwood. So, I mean, this is obviously something that, you know, comes into play much, much later in the franchise, but because obviously, if you don't look at any of the supplementary material around RWBY, you would actually never know what Ironwood's semblance actually is. And so you'd think that they would reveal it in the main show itself, because actually it contextualises and gives a lot of interesting information about Ironwood's decisions, particularly in things like Volume 7 and 8. But yeah, it's just a more general observation, ladies and gentlemen. And that, I think that is one of those instances of a criticism that's been made of RWBY that I do accept, personally. I've said before how, you know, obviously RWBY has a lot of criticisms around it in terms of aspects of the writing and things like that at various times. And, you know, whilst there are some of those criticisms which I think are kind of overblown for what they are, there are some other criticisms that I do think are, you know, more valid and do have more of a leg to stand on, and that is one of them. Sometimes bits of key information not being revealed within the main show itself when they probably should have been. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I still enjoy RWBY a lot for what it is. I still absolutely love it. It's probably one of my favourite animations out there, so absolutely, yeah, just an observation and all that, ladies and gentlemen. So like I say, you know, let me know about Dust. Has it ever been formally confirmed? And if so, whereabouts was it formally confirmed? Was it in the main show, or was it actually in a side supplementary material? I don't know. But yeah, looking forward to getting into the next chapter, so I think I have time left to actually record that, so that's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. I'll definitely get a couple of episodes recorded, so join me for that, and in the meantime I will start to wrap up here, since I've given my thoughts coming out of that first chapter. As usual, you know, Propagandist is my second channel. My main channel is John Philip Strategist, where I do a lot of admittedly unoriginal gaming content, but if you're into that kind of thing, then there might be something over there that interests you. Other than that, yeah, hope you'll join me for the next episode, which I'll get recording straight away. Goodbye, everybody.